Let me first clarify, you saw what the video title is, but what may be an even more descriptive title would be NBA series that determine the pecking order. What I essentially mean is specific playoff series in NBA history that went a certain way. But if it had gone differently, then it would have completely switched the all-time rankings of the two superstars involved. To me, this video is a very simple concept, but it's also a fascinating topic, because it really shows you the significance of each playoff series and of each individual game, and sometimes of even one shot. In one evening, a player's legacy can be completely altered for decades to come, simply based on how he performs against the other star on that specific night. Hopefully, this all makes sense, but if not, you'll get it by the end of the first segment. So without further ado, let's get into it. First off, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson in the 1987 NBA Finals. This was the third time that these two rivals met up in the finals during the 1980s, and it was massive in terms of bragging rights, because the winner of that series was taking a 2-championships-to-1 lead in those 80s matchups. Well, as you all know, Magic Johnson and the Lakers went on to defeat the Celtics in 6 games. Magic put up monstrous averages, was the finals MVP, and even had the iconic game-winning hook shot in Game 4. But even more significant than that was the fact that Magic secured his 5th championship ring compared to Bird's 3. And one of the lasting images from that battle was when Larry was in a press conference after suffering defeat and admitted that he believed Magic Johnson was simply the better player.
Magic's just a great basketball player. He's the best I've ever seen, Unbelievable. I don't know what to say.
Now, over 3 decades later, Magic Johnson is usually recognized as the player who's higher on the all-time list. But I honestly believe that all changes if the Celtics had won the series. Think about it. Larry Bird was leading Magic in MVP awards at that point 3-2, and Bird had just won 3 out of the last 4 MVP awards. Many people were already thinking that Larry was the better individual player. If the Celtics had won, Magic would have just 4 championships to Larry Bird's 4, and Bird would then also have the edge in Finals MVPs 3-2. Beyond that, Bird would have the last laugh, defeating Magic 2 out of the 3 times that they met on the game's biggest stage. Not only was this one series so massive, but you could even argue that the legacies were defined on the last shot of Game 4. If Bird buries that game winner, then the Celtics would have had a commanding 3-2 lead by the end of Game 5. But alas, he missed the shot, and the Lakers went on to close out the series soon afterwards. This whole thing really gives you some perspective on just how closely competitive their rivalry truly was. Next up, LeBron James and Steph Curry in the 2016 NBA Finals. You all know this series. It was the second straight time that these two teams met up in the NBA Finals, and they would go on to battle on the game's biggest stage in 4 seasons straight. The Warriors were looking to complete a historic season where they had finished the regular season with a 73-9 record, which was the greatest in NBA history. Steph Curry had also broke the record for the most three-pointers made in a single season. He just had the highest scoring 50-40-90 season ever, and he was named the back-to-back MVP winner, as he became the first and only unanimous MVP in NBA history. I remember the narrative during that regular season, and people were saying that Steph Curry had now replaced LeBron James as the face of the league. But as you all know, LeBron emphatically shut down that narrative as he led his Cavs to make a 3-1 comeback, winning the series in 7 games, while giving Cleveland their first championship in franchise history. Here's the thing, everything changes if Cleveland had lost that series. Even LeBron James recognizes how critical the 2016 championship is to his GOAT case. If LeBron had lost that series, then he only has 3 championships. 2 of them came on a super team, and the other was the Orlando bubble in 2020. He would have a record of 3-7 in the NBA Finals, and he would have been eliminated by Steph Curry's Warriors a whopping 4 seasons straight. In this scenario, he would have never defeated Steph in the NBA Finals. On the other hand, Steph would have 5 championship rings instead of 4, and it would have completed the 73-9 season with a championship, which probably would have solidified them as the consensus greatest team ever. Steph also would have won 4 straight championships, which Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant never did. If Kyrie Irving doesn't hit that 3, and if LeBron doesn't get that blocked shot, then I believe we would be having debates today about whether Steph Curry or Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time, rather than LeBron James and MJ. Next on the list is Akeem Olajuwon and David Robinson in the 1995 Western Conference Finals. Nowadays, basically everyone has Olajuwon higher on their all-time list than Robinson. But during their peaks, there was a legitimate debate on who the better center was. When the two centers squared off in 1995, David Robinson had just won the league MVP, and Olajuwon has been quite frank in the years since about how that was a motivating factor for him. He absolutely decimated the Admiral in that series, nearly dropping 40 points in 4 out of the 6 games. Obviously, after Houston closed out the Spurs in 6, they went on to win the championship over the Orlando Magic in the finals. Now, there's no guarantee that the Spurs would have gone on to beat a talented Orlando Magic team, but if they had, the legacy comparison would have been overwhelmingly in favor of Robinson, as he would have a total of 3 championship rings to Hakeem's 1. And like all the other comparisons, the lasting impression of Robinson winning the Battle of the Bigs would have been monumental in how we remember the two. Even if the Spurs went on to lose to the Magic in the finals, Robinson would still have 2 rings to Olajuwon's 1. And with his victory in their playoff battle, that would likely push his case over the hump. On the other hand, Olajuwon already has to deal with this narrative. But if he had only won 1 championship in 1994, which just happened to be the full season that Jordan was retired, then the narrative would only be stronger that he was only able to eat well because MJ wasn't around. Last on the list is Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson in the 1991 NBA Finals. This was a highly anticipated and extremely hyped matchup between the guy seen as the face of the league and the guy seen as the future face of the league. When it comes down to it, Jordan and the Bulls simply had the better roster, as they closed out the series in just 5 games. Not only do I believe that this series would have shifted their rankings if it had gone differently, but I believe it would have them completely switch places as to who's widely recognized as the greatest player of all time. You need to understand, the Lakers didn't win this series and they should not have won this series. Magic no longer had the assistance of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who had retired somewhat recently. On top of that, Magic's Lakers were shorthanded, as his 2 best scoring weapons, James Worthy and Byron Scott, both missed significant time in the finals due to injuries. Even against all odds, if Magic somehow won the title instead of Jordan, it would give Magic 6 rings to Jordan's 5, and it would be the lasting image of Magic's career that he bested Jordan in his final season, in a series that he wasn't supposed to win. For MJ, it would have been a whole new damning narrative, that he was never able to win until Magic allowed him to by retiring. People would be saying that Magic was the face of the 80s, and he could have been the face of the 90s if he didn't get HIV. From that perspective, in that reality, I don't see how anyone could have comfortably referred to Michael Jordan as the greatest player of all time when Magic Johnson had that as his legacy. So what do you guys think? Is there any other series that I'm forgetting where it basically decided the all-time rankings of the 2 all-star players involved? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.